away from home especially, when Manchester United set up and not concede, you need players who can pull rabbits out of a hat, and he's one of those players who can.
We've just been speaking there about Arsenal, you know, and sometimes how fragile they are at the back. Man United were terrific defensively at the weekend. I thought their best players were Jones, were Smalling. You know, Burnley were throwing men forward at the end, getting a lot of balls into the box. Jones and Smalling were terrific. They cleared everything. And that just tells you that Man United can get the job done. They can win ugly, clean sheet, 3 points, and they move on to the next game. They were certainly far from being at their best.
Let's get back to Manchester United, shall we? And Anthony Martial scoring at the weekend at Burnley in the 1-0 victory. Let's go back to you, Andy, because you were at the game. OK, so Mata we see in the shot there. You think the man to miss out, but Martial and Rashford might also be looking over their shoulders as well. Are they unhappy at their lack of game time, or are they happy to learn from one of the best?
Everyone will be unhappy at their lack of game time. Everyone wants to play, and especially Rashford. He looked to have a spring in his step when he came on. He always does, I think, quite similar, I think, to Martial. But I think Alexis Sanchez will give them something different. I think he's right out of the top drawer, Alexis Sanchez. He's got a great work rate. I think he does everything for the team. I know it seems to be that his loyalty is maybe lacking just now, his teammates at Arsenal, but I think at his best he's very much a team player, and I think he'll give Man United a bit extra. And it just remains to be seen how Martial, Rashford, Mata, Lukaku himself, how they'll react to someone coming in like that.
Because he was coming towards the end of his contract, the way it works in football is a vast chunk of what would have been spent on the transfer fee is converted into wages, and his wages have been well publicised, haven't they, about how much he's going to earn. Give me an insight into the mind of a footballer. Does that cause unrest? If you're sitting in a changing room, you know how much another player is being paid. It's more than double what you're being paid.
Yeah, but you see, what has to happen is you have to take everything in context, because he's a world-class player and because he's only got 6 months of his contract left, you've got to take that into consideration, because there ain't this huge transfer fee for the player. And when there ain't a huge transfer fee, obviously it converts back to the player. I think at Manchester United, they're all wealthy guys. To get a player of his calibre into the football club, I think that's what's going to mean more to the players than looking at what he's earning, as far as I'm concerned.
I think sometimes you have to stroke the ego of these big players who want to feel as though, listen, I'm the main man, I'm the top guy here, I want to be earning the top dollar. And I think it'll be okay in the short term. But I think once you get anywhere near negotiating players like Pogba and Lukaku and anyone else at Man United, they'll want to be paid the same as Alexis Sanchez, and that is a big problem for the way that Man United will have to handle that.
We shall see. Right, let's talk about Chelsea. All the headlines have dominated their search for a striker, but you know what? They went to Brighton, they scored 4. Antonio Conte said afterwards he doesn't see why there are so many negative headlines surrounding his side. They're unbeaten in 12, they're in the top 4, they're still in 4 competitions. Is he right? Are Chelsea having a good season?
Listen, Manchester City are putting everyone in the shade, and that's why you get this pressure at Man United, at Chelsea, at Liverpool, at everywhere else. Manchester City have taken football to a different level, and no one can compete with them at the moment. So that's why everyone's under pressure, because Abramovich will want Chelsea to be successful, more successful than they are. I thought the way they played against Brighton was absolutely terrific. They didn't need that tall striker, that physical presence. The football they played, the one-touch stuff, absolutely a joy to watch. And that was Chelsea, I think, at their best.
Let's talk about strikers, though, because Michy Batshuayi linked with the move away from Stamford Bridge. Rare start for him. He provided the assist for Chelsea's stunning second goal. Right. Plenty of strikers have been linked with Chelsea. Do they need one, or can they pay perhaps like this, and when Morata's returns, they'll be all right?
I don't think Batshuayi's had a fair crack at the whip, I've got to say. think, obviously, when Hazard is on his game and Morata's there, Morata gets most of the chances. But Batshuayi, there's been times where Morata hasn't played and Batshuayi hasn't even been on the pitch, he's been on the bench. So if it's going to be like for like, you should give him an opportunity. The way he played at the weekend, I thought he done very well. The movement that those three players up at the top of the pitch had for Chelsea, I thought was really good. Some of the best stuff I've seen Chelsea play in a long while.
I think sometimes when you speak about, we mentioned earlier about Real Madrid and them maybe shaking up their 11. The worry for me would be Hazard being attracted to Real Madrid. If Real Madrid come in for Hazard, that will turn his head. And you know, we speak about Harry Kane. Hazard, I think, is in the same boat. He'd be attractive to a club like Real Madrid.
Well, let's talk about Hazard, shall we? He scored twice, and he's getting closer to some of the Chelsea greats. His stats certainly stack up. So let's have a look at them, shall we? He's now scored 65 times or assisted 37 times, so 102 goals he's been involved in with Chelsea. It takes him ahead of Gianfranco Zola on 101 to outright third for the club in the competition. Frank Lampard, he's just well ahead, isn't he? There, look, 237, and Didier Drogba's there on 159. So let's get back to that point. We saw Coutinho and the Barcelona situation Liverpool had to deal with. There's a World Cup coming up. He's not getting any younger. If he's going to make a big move, then surely this summer is the time to go. Will he go or will he stay?
If Real Madrid want him and they make a serious offer, Real Madrid can be a very determined club. They can spend a lot of money, and I can see Hazard playing in La Liga. I can see him playing for, you know, one of the most famous sides in the world. I think it would be an attractive opposition for him.
And we spoke about Manchester City and how they've perhaps tilted the Premier League. Is it fair to say that as long as Pep stays at Manchester City, they're going to dominate English football, and you can't even offer Eden Hazard, look, stay with us, we're going to win the title maybe next year or the year after? That doesn't look like a scenario at the moment.
I wouldn't say Manchester City is going to dominate. They've dominated this season, but remember, Chelsea are the champions. They were champions last season, so they know how to get it done. The key now is going to be, what do the other teams do to address that gap between them and Manchester City? And weakening the squad by letting Hazard go isn't going to help Chelsea's cause. So they've just signed Ross Barkley. They want to try and get Ross Barkley.
On Monday Night Football, after becoming the first team this season to beat leaders Manchester City, Jurgen Klopp's side beat Swansea.
Outstanding, strong league. So, and especially the fight for this top position, it's really hard, because it's like everybody needs to play like a champion to stay there.
Well, Roberto Firmino scored his 10th goal of the season in the win over Manchester City last weekend. He's also provided 5 assists this season. Well, it is a marked improvement for Firmino this season. In his first season with Liverpool, he scored 10 goals in 31 games. That gave him an average of 0.32 goals per game. The average dropped slightly last season despite scoring 1 more goal, but he played in 35 games, giving him an average of 0.31. But this season he has played 22 games so far, already has 10 goals, giving him an average of 0.45. So we'll have more on Liverpool. Roberto Firmino on the way, ahead of the Monday Night Football. Well, let's get more reaction, shall we, to the very sad news that Jimmy Armfield has died today. Let's speak to Sky Sports' Martin Tyler.
Alexis Sanchez is almost, but not quite yet, a Manchester United player. Let's join James Cooper. James, what do we expect to happen today?
Yeah, I think we're in when, not if situation, but I think that when might be a bit of a waiting game for Manchester United fans, but there will be inevitably an announcement either later today or perhaps early tomorrow that Alexis Sanchez is Manchester United's new signing. I don't think there's a great surprise in any of this kind of timescale. United aren't on a clock, if you like. We've got 9 days left of this transfer window, so they've always been relaxed about getting this deal done and getting it done in the time it takes to do a big deal. And there are always quirks, there are always little obstacles along the way which need to be sorted out when you're kind of paying this sort of money for a player and involving yourself in this sort of calibre of a player. I think one of the quirks that need to perhaps be ironed out this afternoon is a work permit for Alexis Sanchez. Clearly he had one because he was playing for Arsenal, but when you change employer you then need to refresh that work permit. I think that's one of the procedures that Manchester United will go through, as I say, this afternoon, and that might be the final obstacle ahead of this signing of Alexis Sanchez. It's quiet here at Carrington. Jose Mourinho and his first team squad have had the last couple of days off following that draw at Burnley and the win at Burnley. And I think, you know, the one major thing about this is that there's an awful lot of excitement, but an awful lot of calmness as well. It is quiet here. We're waiting for things to happen, and I think, as I say, we're in a when not if situation. I think then the speculation becomes as to what number Alexis Sanchez will be given. We know that the Manchester United number 7 shirt is vacant at the moment. It certainly has the pedigree and the stature to wear that shirt, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is Manchester United's new number 7. As regards the rest of the week, I don't think we'll be hearing from Alexis Sanchez tomorrow. I don't think he'll be unveiled, so to speak. I think that's probably something that will happen just with pictures and maybe footage rather than a press conference. I think the first time we'll hear from Manchester United officially about this signing is probably in Jose Mourinho's pre-match news conference, likely to be on Thursday ahead of the FA Cup trip to Yeovil on Friday night.
Thanks very much, James. So that is the United end of the deal. Of course, it'll be a straight swap with United forward Henrik Mkhitaryan. He's in London and Paul Gilmore is outside his hotel.
As I mentioned earlier, just part of the, you know, those players in the absolute top class bracket. Sanchez is certainly one of them. And it just remains to be seen how that knock-on effect and how clubs deal with it. I know that there's been a huge explosion, you know, just in the last year or so with transfer fees, maybe with some salaries, but I think it's going to continue.
OK. Mkhitaryan, let's get back to him. Didn't work for him at United. What's giving you confidence that it'll work at Arsenal then?
We made a point earlier that the midfield and a strike force at Arsenal, attacking-wise, play nice open football, which is what Mkhitaryan likes, which is what he used to playing at Dortmund. At times he was a bit restricted at Manchester United, although he scored some fantastic goals and made some good assists. This is a player who can really get it done. So I believe Arsenal will be the right club for him because of that freedom he's going to get at the club.
OK, staying with Arsenal and developments in their attempts to sign Borussia Dortmund striker Pierre-Emerick Aubamayeng. Dortmund say there has been an approach. Arsenal chief executive Ivan Gazidis is in Dortmund. Aubamayeng wants to move and negotiations continue. Dortmund want at least £50 million. They'd also like Olivier Giroud as part of the deal. So Arsenal working on a deal for Aubamayeng. But it seems to have gone very, very quiet on Malcolm. We're told Tottenham are now the favourites to sign Bordeaux's Brazilian winger. Spurs want to buy him now and allow him to stay on loan at Bordeaux for the rest of the season.
Well, what you haven't seen there was Kevin shaking his head when news of Malcolm was coming up there. What was the shake of their head about? Would you like them both in?
Yeah, I would. I'd like as many offensive juggernauts at Arsenal as possible. I don't like to see that the deal's off at Arsenal and it could be going to the biggest rivals, Tottenham.
So you'd be happy for them both to come?
Yes.
Aubamayeng and Malcolm?
And Mkhitaryan.
And
yes.
Mkhitaryan. You're not greedy in this window,
Not at all.
are you?
Not at all.
There we go. OK. Now, Mauricio Pochettino has refused to talk about what he's calling rumours regarding Harry Kane's future at the club. It's after a Sunday newspaper reported that Real Madrid were preparing a world record £200 million bid for the Tottenham striker. Now, Spurs chairman Daniel Levy told Sky Sports News last week he's 100% confident none of their key players will be sold. Kane scored in the 1-1 draw against Southampton. This is what Pochettino said after the game.
I am not going to speak about rumours and from Harry Kane or from Mauricio Pochettino for different things. It's not my problem to explain the rumours.
Oh, it's OK. That was Malcolm and also Harry Kane. We also understand Spurs are interested in signing Paris Saint-Germain winger Lucas Moura on loan. Now, PSG would prefer a permanent deal because they need to comply with financial fair play rules after signing Neymar and Kylian Mbappe in the summer. This is interesting. Moura's representative is in London. Other clubs are interested, including Bayern Munich.
OK, let's work through this chronological order then. Kane, how much do you see his long-term future at Spurs?
He'll certainly stay this season, possibly depending on how he does at the World Cup. If Harry Kane is on fire at the World Cup, why would Real Madrid not come in for him? Real Madrid are in for the best prospects, the players who might have the next 3-4 years in front of them. Harry Kane, in my view, is a player like that. If he is on fire at the World Cup, I can see him going to Real Madrid.
I don't think Spurs can afford it. They can't afford it. The money is great money, but the football club cannot afford it. Moving into that new stadium and selling your star asset, I can't see it happening, not in the next year, 18 months.
Lucas Moura then, linked with going into Spurs. Spurs want him on loan, PSG want him to go permanently. How surprised are you that Spurs, considering where they are in the league at the moment, haven't been more active in this window?
Yeah, I'm just wondering about Spurs long term. I mean, they've got a lot of really good players, and you know they might be aware of interest, not just in Harry Kane, maybe Dele Alli, maybe Eriksen. And of course, when you have a World Cup on the horizon and players like that perform really well, there will be a bit of interest. And they need to keep their eye on some of the players who, in a business sense, I think Tottenham like to do business maybe more expertly than Arsenal. And I think Daniel Levy's, he's always given the impression he's a tough negotiator. He'll know that if one or two of his players need to move on, you need to be aware of what's in the market. Right now, I think Spurs need a bit of business to try and get into the top four. Right now, I can't see them finishing in the top four.
Chelsea close to agreeing a deal to sign Edin Dzeko from Roma. Chelsea are prepared to pay about £30 million for the former Manchester City striker. Dzeko started Roma's 1-1 draw at Inter Milan last night. Dzeko's already played for Roma in the Champions League this season, so if he moves, he couldn't play for Chelsea against Barcelona next month. Now, Chelsea are also in talks to sign Dzeko's teammate, Emerson Palmieri. He's a 23-year-old Brazilian left-back who moved to Roma from Santos for about €2 million. Now, he was an unused substitute against Inter last night. He's only recently returned from a serious knee injury.
OK, let's pick up on Edin Dzeko. There's been some names thrown into the hat here. What about Chelsea's search for a striker?
I think Dzeko really adds something to this Chelsea team. He's got the size. He knows the Premier League as well. He's won a Premier League title at Manchester City when he was there. So, you know, not good news for Michy Batshuayi, but, you know, if they do bring Dzeko in, probably he could play a lot of the league games, and Morata will play Champions League and those big games.
Yeah, I think when you see Morata and in the big games, the chances that he missed against Arsenal when Chelsea played there recently, I think Chelsea will be in the market for another striker. I agree with Kevin. I think he fits the bill.
OK, on the way, Daniel Sturridge. Will he be leaving Liverpool in this window? Welcome back to the Transfer Centre. Now remember to stay across our live blog for all the latest deals. That's on our website and digital devices. Now, inside this car is Alexis Sanchez. He's arrived at Manchester United's training ground at Carrington this morning ahead of his move from Arsenal.
OK, Daniel Sturridge is not in Liverpool's squad for their game at Swansea this evening. Sevilla, Inter Milan want to sign him on loan, and also Roma and Southampton also interested. Now, Sturridge has not played for Liverpool for almost 7 weeks. He needs games to keep his place in the England squad for the World Cup this summer. Now, Liverpool would prefer a permanent deal or a loan with an obligation to buy, and they value Sturridge at about £30 million.
OK, how much does Daniel Sturridge need a move to reboot his career?
He's got to go. He's got to play. And again, we keep speaking about it. It's the World Cup on the horizon. He must want to play in the biggest stage of all. And for me, it's a no-brainer. He's got to get some game time.
How much of this is about confidence? How much of this is about something else? The injuries finally taking its toll?
Yeah, I think it's about fitness. He's got to have a run of games. If he's looking at making the England squad, he's got to have a run of games. I don't think Daniel Sturridge's talent is ever in question. It's just a matter of, can he keep himself fit? And, you know, moving away from Liverpool and getting fresh, because he hasn't played in 7 weeks, so he should be fresh. and go out there and make a name for yourself again and force your way into the England squad, because he can do something.
Everton winger Aaron Lennon is having a medical at Burnley this morning. We can see the pictures that have come in. Now, Everton are letting Lennon go after they signed Theo Walcott from Arsenal. Lennon wants to play regularly, and he almost moved to Burnley last summer. Everton signed Lennon from Spurs for about £5 million in 2015. So that is Aaron Lennon. Let's go to Manchester City. Of course, they missed out on signing Alexis Sanchez, but some interesting things going on behind the scenes there. Now, Lille are expecting Manchester City to bid for 18-year-old midfielder Boubakary Soumaré. Now, City were one of a number of English clubs who watched Soumaré play for Lille against Rennes last week. Soumaré is one of the brightest prospects in French football. He's been described as the new Yaya Touré. Now, Lille value him at £35 million. They prefer to do a deal this month, but keep him on loan until the summer. Another midfield option for City is Fred. City want to sign a long-term replacement for Yaya Touré. Fred valued at £40 million by Shakhtar Donetsk. They signed him from Internacional 5 years ago in a £13 million deal. He's also been watched by Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United. City also, of course, considering making a move for Johnny Evans. West Brom need to sell to raise funds to strengthen their attack this month. They value Evans at up to £30 million. We're told informal discussions have also been held with Arsenal about Evans.
Where do Manchester City need to strengthen the most, do you feel?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know. They look strong everywhere. They've got virtually 2 players for every position. So maybe that centrepiece would have been the Alexis Sanchez type player. Obviously, they're not going to make that move because he's going across the road. So another attacking player, maybe a bigger striker for me, because they've got quite a few small players up there, but somebody where they can get crossed in who could head it in, maybe that's somewhere where they need to strengthen.
I think he always tends to trust these players, Guardiola, and you see John Stones coming in, another one who's probably go to the World Cup with England. I think there's always a mistake in him, and I wonder whether it's maybe one mistake too many in recent games, and whether he might just want to strengthen that area. Johnny Evans, I think, is someone who a bit different from John Stones. He's more of a defender, not that, without any disrespect, not that cultured footballer who wants to bring it out and play some passes. He wants to defend. Maybe that's what Man City need.
Okay, we just mentioned West Brom wanting to freshen up their attacking options. Striker they're keen on is Newcastle United's Alexander Mitrovic. He hasn't started a league game this season. He needs game time to ensure he's part of Serbia's World Cup squad. He's been out for more than a month with a back injury. Now, another striker who'll be on the move probably this month is Islam Slimani. Monaco want to sign him, but not for Leicester's £28 million valuation. That's how much Leicester paid Sporting for Slimani 18 months ago. He's another one who needs to be playing regularly before the World Cup this summer. Now, West Ham are listening to offers for striker Andre Ayew. Swansea want him back and have had a bid worth up to £14 million rejected. West Ham want the £20 million they paid Swansea back in August 2016. Staying at West Ham, and they've also rejected a second bid from Rennes for Senegal striker Diafra Sakho. The bid, we're told, was worth up to £10 million. Bordeaux's new manager Gus Poyet is also keen. Guess what? Sakho wants to move to get regular football ahead of the World Cup, and he's unhappy that other West Ham strikers are earning 4 times as much as he is. What about incomings at West Ham United? Well, they want to sign a midfielder, and they're very interested in Leander Dendoncker. Now, according to Belgium journalist Christophe Terror, West Ham assistant manager Stuart Pearce was in Belgium last night to watch Dendoncker play for Anderlecht against Genk. Another option for West Ham, of course, is João Mario. The Inter Milan midfielder, though, not convinced he wants to move to West Ham on loan. West Ham, though, haven't given up. The Portugal midfielder is assessing his options. Inter will let him leave on loan with an option to buy. He cost them £40 million from Sporting Lisbon in the summer of 2016. Another option for West Ham is Clement Grenier. His contract at Lyon runs out in the summer. He's available for about £1 million. Inter Torino and Atalanta also interested. Grenier wasn't involved as Lyon beat PSG 2-1 last night.
Transfer centre by asking you, Kevin, what business, if any, do Everton still need to do?
I think Everton need to get a holding central midfielder. They've just lost McCarthy to a horrific injury, so they're going to be a bit light there. Freshen it up in there, and that's the business I believe Everton need to do, and a left back.
So the hunt for a striker?
I don't think they need that because they've just signed a striker. Cenk Tosun is at the football club, but left back I think they need for balance. And that holding central midfielder, obviously losing McCarthy, they're going to be a little bit light there.
OK, right, that's all for this morning's Transfer Centre. Tell you what, though, it's back at 3 o'clock, then at 7 o'clock, and then at 10 o'clock.